there's been 4 technological revolutions in the last 250 years, and not new technologies, but revolutions where it literally changed human life, right? So we had the Industrial Revolution, bringing people out of farms into factories. That was a massive change. We had steam engines and steel. I mean, steel, that was massive. On and on and on. We had automobiles. Like, people had walked for all of mankind, and now they could ride. And if you look at that, every 50 years basically is how that breaks down. The last one, 1971, was the invention of the microprocessor, which of course allows us to do what we're doing right now. 50 years from 1971 is right now today. And I think we're on another technological revolution with this decentralized technology, obviously the Bitcoin blockchain, which will change the way society works forever, just like the microprocessor did, just like the automobile did as well. And so a lot of times people try to say, oh, it's kind of like digital cash. I get that. Sure. It's like digital gold. Okay. But to your, the point we're both making, I guess, is that moving towards this decentralization, and we can see that setting up. And so whether that's decentralized government or whatever, but yeah, it's a technological revolution. I think humanity is going to be forever changed off of that.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's really difficult to even catch a glimpse of what that means and what the implications are. I mean, we're kind of in the eye of the storm of an exponential technology that's going to foster a complete paradigm shift. So we have this like tingling in our spine, like this is big, but it's so hard to see beyond the event horizon that you're just left with, kind of contending with what it is now, and those kind of fleeting, images that emerge in your mind about what it might be in the future. And then, we don't want to be led astray by our own ambitions or hopes or dreams. So we try to stay grounded into what is right now. And we try to poke holes in this thing, and we try to, ground it in an objective understanding. But I think what we're dealing with here is even stranger than we can suppose. And as you say, gold 2.0 is a nice narrative, sounder money for the world is a nice narrative, all 1% of what's actually happening. And I think a genuine transformation of people, of human beings, will be the result of this thing being distributed and widely used. Over what period of time, I'm not sure. I think, probably even after the world is on a Bitcoin standard, but I keep coming back to what I'm seeing in the people that are beginning to understand and are beginning to engage and use Bitcoin, primarily from, interactions in Twitter and on podcasts and stuff like that. I think that gives us the clues to what kind of a culture will emerge on top of this thing. And I'm amazed at the kind of impact and the speed at which that impact changes people. So I've spoken to people that have been in Bitcoin since 2011, and I've spoken to people that got in mid 2020, and just to hear the stories of how understanding and engaging this thing has changed their perspective radically on so many different things in a manner that they universally deem as beneficial.
Yeah.
And it's one of the hallmarks is that it's super humbling. You're now kind of in the presence of a change and a thing that's creating that change that you cannot understand, but that is incredibly meaningful and is a tool to use for the improvement of your life and the improvement of the broader structure of the society that you're in. And that's really humbling. And I think that's why there's such a hunger for trying to understand it, because you don't want to take that arrogant or hubristic position where like, okay, I get it. It's gold 2.0, balance out my portfolio, sharp ratio, whatever. There's just this sense that you're like, this is way bigger than I'm capable of comprehending right now. So I want to try to push my understanding into as many different nooks and crannies of this thing as I can. And the only way to do that is to talk to people, learn from people, read the books, quiet contemplation, whatever your process is, to try to get a sense for how meaningful this thing is. And that's why we're so lucky to have the great writers that we have in the space and the great speakers and all the great books and articles and stuff like that, because they help us gain insight into what this thing actually is, because it's still very much ill-defined, I think, even in the minds of the most convicted, bulls out there.